I can still smell the smoke whenever I close my eyes. That night wasn't like any other fire I'd faced. It was different. It was alive. It felt like the flames were chasing me, mocking me, daring me to survive. I thought I was going to die there, but somehow I didn't. And to this day, I believe it wasn't my training that saved me. It was something greater, something divine. My name is James Carter. I'm a firefighter, and more importantly, I'm a single dad to a 10-year-old little girl named Emily. She's my whole world. People say firefighters are brave, but truth is, we're scared all the time. The fear never leaves you. You just learn to work with it. Because every time we rush toward those flames, we know it could be our last. Emily doesn't really understand what I do. She just knows that her dad fights fire monsters. That's what she calls them. Every time I leave for a shift, she hugs me and says, "Be safe, Daddy, beat the monsters." I always smile and promise her I'll come back, but deep down I know promises don't always survive the fire. That week had been exhausting. Double shifts, 3 major calls, barely any sleep. But that morning I still made time to drop Emily off at school. She had a dance recital that evening. She'd been practicing for weeks, twirling around the living room in her little blue dress. As she ran toward the school gate, she turned and said, "Don't be late this time, Daddy." I smiled and nodded. I had no idea those would be the words echoing in my mind hours later when I thought I was going to die. By midnight, the city was silent. I was half asleep in the bunk room when the alarm went off. The siren cut through the night like a scream. Within seconds, we were up, geared, and in the truck. The radio crackled. Major fire on Brookdale Avenue, multiple floors involved, possible entrapment. My captain shouted, "Move it, people, let's go." As we turned the corner, I saw it. The building was already engulfed in flames. An old apartment block, maybe 60 years old, wood and concrete cracking under the heat. The sky glowed orange. You could feel the heat from half a mile away. People were standing on the street, crying, shouting names, praying. That's when I heard it, a woman screaming, my baby's inside." Everything went silent inside me for a moment. The noise, the chaos, all of it faded. I just grabbed my mask, my axe, and ran. My captain yelled, "Third floor, James, be careful." But I was already gone. The staircase was half destroyed. The walls were melting. It was like stepping into another world, one where fire ruled everything. I kept calling out, "Fire department, can anyone hear me?" The air was thick, black, impossible to breathe. My oxygen gauge was dropping faster than usual. I could feel my pulse in my ears. I reached the 3rd floor and kicked open a door, nothing but smoke and silence. I turned left, then heard it, a soft cry, barely audible over the roar of the flames. I followed the sound to a small room at the corner. There she was, a tiny baby girl, no more than a few months old, wrapped in a pink blanket. She was lying in a crib surrounded by smoke. I picked her up, held her tight against my chest, whispering, "You're okay, sweetheart, you're okay." But deep down, I wasn't sure either of us would make it out. I turned to leave, but the hallway was gone. A wall had collapsed. The fire had sealed the exit. I was trapped. The temperature was rising fast, my suit heating up from the inside. My oxygen was almost out. I tried radioing for backup, but all I got was static. For a second, I thought of Emily, her smile, her voice, her dance recital, and I whispered, "God, please, not like this. Not in front of this child, not tonight." Then I felt it, a shift in the air. A strange wind, cold and clear, cutting through the smoke. It came from somewhere behind me. I turned and saw through the haze a faint glimmer of light. I started moving toward it, crawling with the baby in my arms. Every inch felt like forever. My body was screaming, but something inside me kept pushing forward. The light grew brighter, almost like a doorway. I was just a few steps away when the ceiling above me gave a loud crack. I looked up and saw the beam falling. I had no time to move. I closed my eyes, covering the baby, waiting for the impact, but it never came. Instead, someone grabbed me hard and yanked me backward. I hit the floor and heard a familiar voice shouting, "I got you, Carter, I got you." It was Oliver, my teammate, my closest friend. He'd come looking for me. He dragged me out through the broken corridor, coughing, stumbling, until we burst through the main exit just seconds before the entire roof collapsed behind us. The explosion threw us forward, debris raining down. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Then I heard it, the baby crying. She was alive. People around us started clapping, shouting, some were crying. I was on my knees holding that little girl, and I couldn't stop shaking. I looked up at the sky, at the smoke and ash swirling above, and whispered, "Thank you, God, you were with us." Later, as the flames finally died out and the dawn began to break, we sat on the curb, silent. The building was gone, just black smoke and rubble. Oliver patted my shoulder and said, "You crazy idiot, you were supposed to wait for backup." I laughed weakly and said, "Guess God didn't want to wait." He smiled. We both knew we'd witnessed something we couldn't explain. When I got home the next morning, I opened the door and heard footsteps running. Emily jumped into my arms, crying, "Daddy, you're okay." She was trembling. I hugged her tight, unable to speak. She looked up at me and said, "Last night I prayed for you. I asked Jesus to keep you safe." I froze. My knees went weak. That was it. That was the moment I knew exactly what had happened inside that fire. When I thought I was alone, when I thought I was finished, I was. Her prayer reached before the flames did. God didn't just save me, He let me feel His hand guiding me out of that darkness. In the days that followed, I couldn't stop thinking about that wind I felt, cold, pure, cutting through the heat. It didn't make sense physically. The fire was closed off. There was no airflow, but I don't question it anymore. I know what I felt. I know who carried me out that night. I went to the hospital to check on the baby I'd saved. Her mother was there, crying, holding my hand, saying, "You saved my entire world." I smiled, but inside I thought, no, God saved both of us. After that night, I changed. I still fight fires, but I don't fear them anymore. I respect them because I've seen what they can take and I've seen what faith can give back. Every time I walk into a burning building, I whisper a small prayer, not just for me, but for whoever's waiting inside, because I know I'm not walking in there alone. Sometimes, late at night, I sit on the balcony with Emily asleep in my arms and I look at the stars. I remember that burning building, the roar of the fire, the sound of that baby crying, and I realize something. Fire tests strength, but faith rebuilds it. That night I didn't just survive, I was reborn. God walked with me through fire and He brought me back, not because I was fearless, but because someone small and innocent believed He could. So now, whenever people ask me how I do it, how I keep running into danger again and again, I just smile and say, because I've already seen what happens when you trust God in the middle of the flames. And every morning when I kiss Emily's forehead before leaving for work, I whisper, "You keep praying for Daddy, okay?" She smiles sleepily and says, "Always, Daddy, always." That's when I know, no matter how fierce the fire, no matter how dark the smoke, I'll always find my way out. Because faith doesn't just save you once, it saves you every single time.